Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my precious pack, and welcome back once more to VEGA Conflict. Before I get started with anything today, just want to check up on everybody, how you're all doing, and everything like that. And now, let's go ahead and let's step into the Mobilization, which is the currently ongoing event. What prizes would I recommend going for based on what I use to get to where I'm at right now? Well, the first one right off the bat is the Bastion Cruiser. Second is the Sovereign Carrier. Those two ships were the main ships I used to advance into the Umbra faction. And now that you can use them against the Pharmacon AI because it's easily manipulated, still all you have to do is just understand exactly where you want it to be and where you need to be as efficient in combat as possible. Most of the time you don't have to go very far from where you spawn, especially in certain attacks. And the other one is naturally going to be Victoria Onin due to the massively high XP value, well, the massively high health value and other bonuses she gives to you. Now, as for anything else, well, let's go ahead and let's take a look at what weapons they have, what weapons I've used, what armors they have, what armors I used, and things like that. Okay, well, just taking a quick look down through there, there's a pretty good amount to choose from. So, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the mark boxes after we take a look at the weapons. First off, for your initial cruiser fittings at level 1, level 2, which is mark level 1, mark level 2, what I used to use on the Bastions was 2 Epsilon Echo Cannon 1s, 2 Epsilon Echo Cannon 2s, light shielding but heavier armor, with a focus on surviving the attacks that ignore the shields and just bypass. Secondarily, I never used any other weapons on them because they're literally built to use cannon weapons. But I do have other alternative builds that I'll talk about in a separate video, possibly tomorrow morning, which should be beneficial to the rest of the player base now that I see the versatility of them through simple tests and playing with them. As for the armor you're going to have with that ship, you're going to have Resonant Armor 1x3 on the ship, and I'm hoping you have Harmonic technology because you're going to be using the Harmonic Beam Capacitor 3 to increase the range, yada yada yada. You get the idea for what we do there. And that's about it for the fitting. I don't think I actually had thrusters on it to begin with, or if I did, they were lower level because of everything else I had on them. And the objective of the Bastion cruisers I built was simple: cannon fodder. Or in some cases, their job was simply to be set up in a certain location to draw an enemy out of position to be destroyed by a stronger, higher mark upgraded ship. So, you know, set out the little thing with a lower repair time while the heavier thing with a higher repair time sits behind it. And now to the Sovereign Carrier. For my Mark 1 fitting, I'm going to recommend an all Cyclotron Beam 1 and a mixture of shields. Pardon me. And a mixture of shells. Now, one thing I noticed while I was going down through here each time is I don't see any shells at all, which it's a shame because the alternatives are just there's not much going for them unless you have the shells. And if anyone tries to argue the point that you could use exophase or metaphase naturally would be the better choice there because it's the lower repair time for the value of armor shield points it gets. But what fitting would I use, and what fitting did I use on the Sovereign Carrier? Well, as I said, Cyclotron Beams, all level 1. Light shell armor, light shell fitting, no armor, and thrusters. And again, you match the level of the thrusters with the amount of weight you have left after you've equipped everything else. So if you want an overdrive generator or anything like that, Actually, speaking about that, I don't even think I saw any of them in here. Nope. Okay, but as I was saying, what you do is you'd match it with the weight that's left. So you may not be able to put level 3 harmonic chase thrusters on the Sovereign Carrier right away, but you'll get there, and that's the point. There isn't too much else to talk about in terms of fittings or anything like that, so let's go ahead and let's go to the mark boxes. I would say get at least 2 boxes worth of Sovereign Carriers and make 2 of them. Have one as the reserve ship, so if you destroy the first one while you're farming, which is something I never did. I typically was very, very careful with farming and stuff like that, but if you want to take prolonged repairs or something like that, and you want to mix the fleet to put the longest repair ships in a single group after combat, you can do that. And what I'd recommend you do with that is pick up 10 Sovereign Carrier. No, wait. It's twice the number of the base amount, so you're going to need 20 Sovereign Carrier Mark II boxes. You're going to want all 30 Bastion Cruiser boxes, because you're going to want to try and get 10 Mark II Bastion Cruisers with a slightly upgraded fitting, and I will actually talk about the fittings again in a separate video using higher upgrade tech, stuff like that. And the weapon fitting you're going to be going with, it's maximizing range and damage. Well, partial damage. But that's about it. As for targets, well, let's go ahead and let's just take a quick peek over into the targets list, and well, it's a mobilization, should have all the Altarian targets that we've already known. Oligarch targets. Okay, next week. Never mind, I guess they're... Actually, no. Would that one be the event? No, that's not it. So we have a random mobilization, but we have no briefing for it here. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and I'll find a couple targets and smash them with my behemoth, because it should be ready to fight. Yeah. I'll smash with the behemoth, talk about where you're going to want to go based on fights, things like that. And the reason I'm not just showing you the fights is because I don't have any low-level Mark Altarian ships anymore. All of mine are Mark 6, Mark 5, Mark 6-ish. And I'm not going to take another few days out of my time right now, in the current time frame I'm working with, to build new ones. I will do so along the further down the path with the simple goal of actually showcasing them and sharing the information I use. But for now, let's just smash the target with the behemoth, and I'll tell you exactly what I did with the bastions and the sovereign. Let's go after a vanguard first, if they have them. Okay, here we have the level 70 Altarian Vanguard fleet. And the attack is fairly straightforward, even with the regular fleet. Imagine that you're using the bastions. What you're going to do is you're going to send your line of bastions, which should be 5 of them and the sovereign behind them, straightforward. You want them to just go right through this bunch of cutters and just crush them. You want to leave nothing left. As for all secondary targets, well, you're going to have a wraith. Well, not a wraith. You're going to have your bastions. Once you do this, you're going to have them turn in and start going into a line formation, because you're going to stop and advance towards this group. And you're going to want the line to be partially diagonal, starting with one ship here going downwards. And the simple goal of this is to change the attack vector, because you want to break away from certain fights. And as for the second group, again, you're just going to bring your bunch of bastions up towards the target, and you're going to meet them head on. Again, you're just going to be tanking damage most of the time. However, there's one thing I'm going to point out to Kickside, and I'm going to do it right now. Nerf your AIs if you're not going to do anything else. Because I remember fighting these things with top-tier Altarian ships, and even so, they would give a bit of repair time due to what they do. The amount of damage they do, things like that. And the reward... Hi, stupid pop-up. Getting real tired of that garbage. But, as I was saying before I was interrupted, the drop that you get from the level 70 Vanguard, that one, is actually fragments for the Xeno Eclipse Driver, not Eclipse Driver, the Xeno Echo, the Epsilon, the Xeno Epsilon cannon, which is your Altarian gun that came with the Bastion. And one thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to master that attack, and you're going to want to mass farm them. And the reason you want to do this is so you can advance steadily, but you also have to work around your own time constraints. And the 70s are one of the easiest targets because they're also blitz target, and with numerous ways, well, a primary and only way to get coins currently, you don't want to blitz the target, but after you master the attack, what you want to do is you want to repetitively destroy the target, go back, lightly repair your fleet, and then coin them so you can get as much out of your coins as possible. And then go back out and simply crush another 70 and just keep repeating the process. And one thing I'm going to recommend for Kixeye is start playing your own game. Because it's... the further you are away from actually playing your own game, the more it shows in the game. You may have great concept ideas and things like that, and there have been great ideas that I would have loved to see come into the game, but they just kind of got chalked off on the board and left aside. But the game is still alive for the time being. And I know I started this off as a Mobilization video and I'm getting to the game is dying type talk, but that isn't the point. My bad, everybody. Okay. What I would recommend that you do to balance the targets is look at the technology that you want people to be fighting said targets with. Then make your fleets around that specific targeted player base. Do not make it for endgame players. If you want players to advance, target the lower levels of the event targets towards the player base you want to advance. It's just that simple. And until you do this, again, I'm still sticking with the philosophy of I'm not going to recommend your game because it's not fun, it's not pleasant to play. It's too time consuming, it's tedious, it's improperly balanced, and you have a heavy lack of interaction with your player base, and that shows in the gameplay. Now I'm just kind of sitting here tiredly thinking of what to say next. Fittings. Might as well just go ahead and talk about top tier fittings that I have. Not you. Not you. Where are all my Altarians at? Oh, never mind. I have one. Oh, wait. Nope. Never mind. That's not one. That was a test fitting. Let's just show you what the end point of what you going to want more or less for your bastions to be built for. Most of the high-end Pharmacon targets use plasma, so you're going to want heavy plasma, heavy Xeno damage. You don't need the harmonic beam capacitor at that point. That was just left over from while I was upgrading it. And the main one you want at that point is harmonic beam capacitor 2. And it adds a little bit of anti-squadron, but it's mainly for the bonuses for the weapon type. Even though I don't actually think that it affects cannon class weapons because it is a beam capacitor and it's supposed to recharge the beam weapons a little bit faster. I think the same applies to energy to other types of energy weapons, in this case the Xeno Epsilon cannon, things like that. I'd have to test it to find out. If you actually already know that, go ahead and say so below. But this is generally what the fitting is going to look like. All heavy plasma resistance again. And this brings me to another subject that I'll talk about in tomorrow's video, which will be more in-depth about my thoughts about the game. And yes, I'm going to be talking quite a bit about the game over the next few days, but I'm going to be talking about various aspects of the game and how I see that they could be improved or completely changed to be an entertaining aspect, whether you're a free player or a coiner. And every video game that I play, if If your primary focus isn't entertaining your user base and you're just primarily thinking you just want money and you'll get it however you want, well, you just lost a bunch of customers while you got one person to pay you. 50 people walked away and you got one person to give you like $1. That wasn't worth it. And I'm going to discuss everything I possibly can based over a better portion of, wow, thinking about it, I've spent so much time in RTS games during my lifetime. I've spent over a decade and a half. No, actually it's getting closer to 2 decades. 2 decades worth of time in RTS games. I started with Command and Conquer, and this is where I get my huge stigma towards these stupid games that came out of MMOs where everything is heavily repair based or something like that, where it's just a massive stop in your entertainment. You want to play in your free time, and well, guess what? Now you can't play because you're stuck behind a freaking time barrier. That isn't entertaining, and whichever person thought of that, well, I can just say that, may I never meet you in person, because I will share my dislike just as much now as I would in your face. But that's about it, everybody. By the end, you're going to want your bastions to look like this, like I said. This video's been a bit of everywhere, so I guess it can be called the everywhere video or something like that. I'll figure the name out later. As for your sovereign carrier, well, this is basically what the Mark I looks like, just minus the thrusters, a bit of armor, stuff like that. Nothing else. But that's gonna be it, everybody. If you have any suggestions for players of the Xenor Axis tier that are looking to advance into the Altarian tier or Pharmacon, because they can attack the Pharmacon as well because they do have plasma resistance, they just don't have armor and shielding, you're going to want a Mark VI fleet, and you're going to want all Xeno weapons, but if somebody else has an actual specified fitting for certain fleets of Axis tier to be able to fight Pharmacon and farm them in a reasonable manner, go ahead and say so below. If you have a link to a video or something like that, go ahead and share it. I'm going to be ramping up video production over the course of this week, so you may see more than 5 VEGA videos this week. Each one is either going to be discussing various aspects of the game that I find to be just a complete waste of a person's time in something that should be entertaining, so you should sit down and play, whether you're a free player or a paying player. I'm going to be discussing the actual, I don't quite know how to put this, but I'm going to just lay it out the best I can. Right now I'm just extremely tired, so it's also one of the reasons I'm all over the place. But another aspect I want to talk about is the core gameplay. The entirety of the time I've been playing, it hasn't changed that much, and it helps to take away from the entertainment value, because you expect something new when you get a new ship or something like that, but you don't really get much that's new. You just basically get a reskinned ship from a previous tier with better stats, and it would work if it wasn't for the fact that it takes you years to get to that point. I'm going to go ahead and let's just end the video here, everybody. If you guys need any help with anything or would like to ask anything, say so below in the comment section. I'll reply back in the morning after I've had some sleep and can think straight. If you have any requests for videos, or if you have anything you need to know or something like that, again, go ahead and say so below. But I'm going to power through, and I'm going to continuously record, update, update. So I keep all of you in the loop of my thoughts and everything like that in VEGA. Because so far, most of you come around for VEGA, so maintaining the production of videos is going to be the primary focus for the time being. I do know what tomorrow's videos are going to be. First off, I'm going to talk about repair time, build time, and how they're both completely irrelevant. If you think about the game logically, they make no sense. I'm going to talk about research time because it actually does make sense. And finally, I'm going to make a second video that will be discussing Altarian ships, as I said. And that will be the videos for tomorrow. There won't be a video extremely early in the morning tomorrow like this one. There'll most likely be a noontime and a about 1 or 2 in the evening launch for the videos for the other two. But that's going to be it, everybody. Feel free to share your thoughts below in the comment section, and as always, everybody, stay safe out there in the void, and I will catch you next time.